Hi there, I'm your host, Mr. Doyle, and this is a great undertaking. I'm wearing the costume still, again, forever and ever until the end of time, because there's so many Carrie videos to make still. In this video, we are going to discuss the third and most recent film adaptation of Stephen King's first published novel, Carrie. Boy, people sure love to make and remake this movie. There are 7 Carrie-centric videos on this channel, one focused on the novel, one for each of the 3 Carrie movie adaptations, of which this is one, a video for The Rage, Carrie 2, another for Carrie the Musical, and one more for my favorite teen drama, Riverdale. In one of these 7 videos, I will have a bucket of pig's blood poured over my head and body. It's just, I thought maybe people would watch all the videos just to see that. And yeah, so watch all the videos, and it's in there somewhere, and you'll see it. Yep. This film was released in 2013 and was directed by Kimberly Peirce, who is best known for her debut feature film, Boys Don't Cry. Carrie also appears to be her final time in the director's chair, which perhaps is not a good sign. Lawrence Cohen wrote this screenplay, and he also wrote the original 1976 Carrie screenplay. Cool. But he is also 1/3 responsible for Carrie the Musical, one of the biggest, most expensive bombs in Broadway history, and something I will never forgive him for. Damn you, Larry! What have you done? You go to your room and you think about what you did. But we will cover the mess that is Carrie the Musical in another video. Hooray. Additionally, Roberto Aguirre-Sacasa nailed it, the playwright for Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, which is also a freaking musical that was considered a financial and artistic disaster, was brought in to assist in delivering a more faithful adaptation of the novel. Great. They hired 2 guys responsible for musicals that rank amongst the worst Broadway shows ever to remake one of the greatest horror films of all time. Solid decision-making. Fortunately, the actual story was written by Stephen King, so unless they really go off track here, it should be tolerable at the very least, but I swear to God, Larry, if anyone starts singing or there are any choreographed dance routines, I will throw myself in the path of a moving vehicle. The movie stars Chloe Grace Moritz as Carrie and Julianne Moore as Margaret White. The film was met with mixed reviews, and many felt the remake was, like the 2002 remake, unnecessary. King himself stated, quote, "The real question is why, when the original is so good?" A question that could be asked of most, if not all, Carrie adaptations. Regardless, this remake turned out to be very successful, grossing $55 million at the box office. Is it by the book? While at the start this movie approaches the story from an angle unlike the novel or the 2 movies that predecessed it, this movie effectively tells the same story. Aside from some subtle differences and some obvious modernizations, it's reliably the classic tragic tale. Something else this version does effectively is take a lot of the pieces from the book and rearrange them, and rearrange the order in which they are presented. For instance, the interview or interrogation of Sue Snell does find its way into the movie and is used as a means of wrapping things up at the end, as opposed to being a vehicle for which to provide us the dramatic irony that was thick throughout the novel. I actually like this change. Additionally, there is one intimate detail that was in the book but was neglected by the other films. It made it into this movie, and as a King stan, I appreciated that. One beef I have with this movie, which I had with the 2002 movie as well, is that Billy, Christine's bad boy boyfriend, is virtually absent from the majority of the film. I'm not sure why, but the only film to give him any substantial screen time or character development was the original 1976 movie. And of course, King gave us plenty of details so we could get to know Billy in the book. It seems crucial to include Billy in the overall story, as he is a very important antagonist later on. But once again, his character is given a backseat, which is unfortunate in my opinion. If you saw this movie and weren't familiar with the source material, you would be genuinely confused about why the hell Christine and Billy are suddenly at a pig farm. There's no buildup, no precursor, no inclination that this is the direction that things are heading in. And this isn't the only time something like this happens in the movie. I wondered at times if the filmmaker didn't bother providing certain pieces of information because they just assumed the majority of people who see this version of the movie already know the story and don't need a refresher. It felt a bit lazy at times, honestly. We do get a somewhat more messed up Christine Hargensen in this movie, which is kind of fun, and Margaret White is a more sadistic, self-harming character in this movie. She is foreboding and sinister, but she is quietly insane. She isn't the grandiose drama queen we're accustomed to, but she can do completely crazy when necessary. For the most part, she is subtle yet appropriately batshit. While this depiction isn't by the book, it plays very well. Also, this version makes Tommy Ross, the good-hearted, intelligent valedictorian of the novel, feel like more of a dim-witted jock. In the book, he is a smart, well-rounded character. I definitely don't get that impression from this movie. This version of the character that is Carrie is sufficiently awkward and pitiable. When she transforms for the prom, it is indeed a stunning transformation. At the prom, Carrie seems to shed her insecurities almost entirely, and she forgets all the turmoil and trouble for just a little while. One distinct difference from both the book and the previous films is that when the shit hits the fan during the prom scene, Carrie is clearly enjoying herself. She is amazed at what she can do, and she appears to be taking great pleasure in it. It was a unique take on the character that made me cheer for her just a little bit harder. Vibe and tone. This movie manages to provide us with all the necessary elements to do the story justice. It doesn't demand that the viewer feel for Carrie as deeply as the book does, but for the most part, the dark vibes and serious tone prevail throughout. There is one rather gratuitous montage of all the girls and the bros getting ready for the prom that briefly detracts from the tone and from the movie overall. It felt wholly unnecessary. I'd have to say that this was the only cringeworthy scene of the entire movie, but I suppose that's pretty good considering. Visual effects, sound, editing, and cinematography. The special effects overall are pretty well done. I thoroughly enjoyed the prom scene. There were some wildly creative moments that were genuinely awesome. This version of the prom scene is far more grisly and graphic than the other two films. Frankly, I was sad when it was over and I wanted more. I don't know what that says about me, but there you have it. One of the final scenes in this movie is one that the 2002 movie attempted to make, but lacked both the budget and technology to achieve. The CGI is excellent, believable, and not overdone. Soundtrack. There weren't a lot of songs used in this soundtrack, but what songs were used worked and were appropriate for the scenes in which they were used. I recognized a couple of songs by bands that I personally enjoy, like Hani El Khatib and Cults. Cults. I highly recommend you check both of those bands out. Link in the thingamajig down yonder. As for the classic horror movie soundtrack elements, they are subtle and understated and at times barely noticeable, or absent altogether. There was one scene in particular where I thought, where are the swelling violins and creaking sounds and all the suspenseful horror movie standard noises? And it seems to have been a deliberate choice to leave us alone with Carrie and her thoughts, as opposed to attempt to direct the mood with music or ambient sounds, as is so often the case in horror films. I think it was actually a cool decision, and certainly an unconventional one. Cast. Acting. Chloe Grace Moritz does a great job. Is she as commanding as Sissy Spacek? No, but those are big shoes to fill, and her performance is far from bad. I liked her in this role, and I thought they could have done a lot worse with the casting. Hell, Stephen King had commented, and I'm honestly not sure if he was joking or not, that he wanted them to get Lindsay Lohan for the role initially. So let's just all be glad that that did not come to fruition. Hot take alert. Julianne Moore is my favorite of the three movie version Margaret Whites. Her performance was just far more natural and organic than the other two. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree, but I just felt that Piper Laurie was too gaudy and trying too hard in the original film. Julianne brought a fresh take to the character, and I thought she killed it. Aside from the two of them, I didn't feel there were any standout performances. However, no one stood out because they were straight up terrible, so it could be worse. Final thoughts. This is a decent movie that was fairly loyal to the source material while adapting to the modern world without straying too far from the path, which is commendable. While I felt there were some underdeveloped characters and potentially lazy writing, for the most part, I enjoyed the movie. You should watch it. That does it for the Carrie content, at least until someone inevitably decides to remake the movie again in a few years. We covered the book, all three films, and the musical on this channel, so if you haven't already, check out those videos too. Next on this channel, we will be diving into Salem's Lot, which was King's second published novel and the inspiration for not one, but two made-for-TV miniseries of the same name. Wait, no, there were three. I'm looking forward to reading the book again and watching those shows for the first time. Oh, wait, hold up now, I forgot. This is not, in fact, the final Carrie-based video. There is one more version of Carrie, and I just didn't realize that this particular version even existed. And guess what? It's another musical version. Only this time, it's even worse than the original musical. Check out the next video, which is all about the teen drama TV show Riverdale. God damn it. Goodbye. Be sure to click like and subscribe to the channel for my continued analysis of all things Stephen King, pretty please with blood and guts on top. My name is Mr. Doyle, and this has been a great undertaking.